Pac-Man is a legendary arcade and most arguably one of the most iconic game characters ever created. Yeah, off Mario, you know who was here first. Funnily, when Pac-Man was first released back in 1980, it was called Pac-Man in Japan. While it does say Pac-Man in katakana, it was called Pac-Man in English since the main character was designed around a hockey puck, which just happens to be pronounced hockey pack in Japanese. During this time, Namco had a deal with Bally Midway, who had released the arcade machines in the US. Bally Midway changed the game's name from Pac-Man to Pac-Man in an effort to avoid vandalism from people changing the letter P into an F to form the word man. And that's why the character we all know and love now is called Pac-Man. Or is it? There are also other stories that suggest the name Pac-Man is based on the concept of eating, and the original Japanese onomatopoeic phrase paku paku taberu, where the paku paku describes the sound of the mouth movement when widely opened and then closed in succession. However the name was decided isn't really important to the game and its many ports, official or not. In 1982, Atari released their version of Namco's hit arcade game for the Atari 2600. Like the original arcade version, the player controls the title character with a joystick. The objective is to traverse the maze, consuming all the pellets, wafers, within it while avoiding 4 ghosts. The game was programmed by Todd Frey, who was not provided any arcade design specifications to work from and had to figure out how the game worked by playing it. The finished game used a 4KB ROM cartridge. Given the popularity of the property, Atari produced 12 million units, which was more than the estimated number of Atari 2600 consoles sold at the time, anticipating high sales, which they got. So this must be a great game. Wrong. It's awful. As you can see, it looks terrible, sounds bad, and worst of all, even plays poorly thanks to the laggy controls. Pac-Man 4K started out as a challenge for the homebrew coder Dennis Debro to see if he could get a no-frills Pac-Man written for the 2600 in 4K and stay faithful to the original arcade game. Some sacrifices were made, such as the decision to flicker the objects at a rate of 20 Hz instead of developing a variable flicker algorithm. But I'm sure you'll agree that the end result is a million times better than the original crap churned out back by Atari in 1982. The Atari 5200 port is a vast improvement of the original 2600 version. Not only does it look much nicer, but it also plays better and sounds pretty similar to the arcade game in many areas. Not a bad port at all for the time. As to be expected, the Atari 8-bit line of computers features a port of Pac-Man that's basically the same as the Atari 5200 version. Apple II fans get quite a nice port of Pac-Man that makes use of the composite colour effects to provide us with a nice selection of ghosts. Actually, I was surprised at how nice this port is considering it's by Atari Soft. This is Pac-PC, an unofficial port that was released in 1995. It's a shame this was not officially released, as it's a bloody good version of Pac-Man, complete with sounds sampled from the arcade machine. Oh man, even Atari's main rival, the Intellevision, got a better version of Pac-Man than the 2600 did, and it was even developed by Atari. Actually, there are two versions of this game. The core game is the same, however the Atari version has the Atari logo on startup, as seen in this footage, while the INTV Corp version simply has 1 or 2 player start screen. There are many versions of Pac-Man for the Commodore 64, but from what I can tell, none are official. This is probably the most playable version, however it's not the best looking. An official ZX Spectrum port by Atari Soft, and it's complete crap. The character's movement is jerky, the sound is headache inducing, and it slows down. Not a good port at all. It seems that the Amstrad, just like the C64, has no official port of Pac-Man. Again, there are many clones, with this French one from 1988 being rather popular. Of course, the Famicom would receive an official port from Namco, and as you'd expect, it's rather good. Namco again brought Game Boy fans a nice port, however, due to the screen resolution of the Game Boy, the whole maze can no longer fit onto the screen. So what we end up with is a maze that scrolls. Still, this doesn't affect the gameplay that much, if at all. The Game Boy Color port is identical to the Game Boy original version, but now in colour. It comes complete with Pack Attack, which is a nice bonus. Namco again with the portable port, this time on the Neo Geo Pocket Colour. Just like with the Game Boy port, you have a maze that scrolls, but we also now get the full maze mode. While the graphics do look chunky, it is better to play. Sadly, the controls on this port seem a little twitchy. Yet another portable port by Namco, this time on the Game Gear. More scrolling maze action, but the best we've seen so far. There's even a cool stereo effect when you lose a life. A lovely port graces the MSX. Sure, it's a little more basic than the arcade machine, but it plays really well and sounds pretty authentic. And here we have the unreleased prototype of Pac-Man for the Colecovision. As you can see, it's very much like the Atari 5200 port, which was also by Atari Soft. Another reasonable port here, this time for the BBC Micro. Actually, I have to admit that this is better than I expected it to be. Now here's one I bet many of you didn't know about. Back in the days of SNES backup devices, there were many cracking groups, some of which also made games. Here's one such example, a really fast and tough version of Pac-Man. Of course, totally unlicensed. And keeping with the unofficial ports, here's one for the Atari ST. Strangely, they've decided to go with the scrolling screen mode to keep the resolution higher. It's pretty good too, however a little slow. Here we go with a version of Pac-Man I bet many wanted to see. It's the Coleco Tabletop version, officially licensed by Namco. I never had this as a kid, so I don't have any attachment to it, so looking at it these days, it seems, well, not so good. I did play many games of this type back in the 80s, so I'm no stranger to the style. But what puts me off this is the odd ghost shape wrapped around Pac-Man's face. It just creeps me out. Yet another licensed Pac-Man tabletop game, but this time by Tomy. This one uses a very odd screen layout. I wouldn't be surprised if this wasn't because Tomy had a load of parts left over from another game project. Still, we can tell this is Pac-Man, and as an added bonus, it does have the official jingle before the game starts. The big question is though, does it play better than the Coleco version? Maybe not. You see, in this game, you can only eat power pellets if you walk into them with your mouth. Reversing over them will not allow you to pick anything up. I understand the reason, but from a gameplay point of view, it's pretty dumb. And finally, just for a bit of a laugh, here's the officially licensed Google Pac-Man logo that appeared on May 21st, 2010. Surprisingly, this played really well. And let's take a look at all those versions of Pac-Man running side by side.